Hey, everybody, and welcome to our deep dive, where we're going to be talking about something super important for plumbing businesses,
Absolutely.
risk, and how the right insurance can really protect you. And we've got all these insights from articles, research, and all these
Yeah,
experts.
plumbing contractors have got all these unique challenges, and knowing how to navigate them can make such a difference for your business and your future.
Totally. And we're not just talking about the obvious stuff here. We're going to uncover some risks that you might not even realize you're exposed to.
Right.
Like what happens if an employee gets into an accident in their own vehicle on company time?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Or what does completed operations exposure even mean?
Yeah, those are things where the right insurance can really change things. But before we get to the insurance part of things,
Okay.
we got to talk about the big picture. The plumbing industry is going through some changes right now, challenges and opportunities.
Okay, so what's going on in the plumbing world that our listeners need to know about?
Well, one of the biggest things is the labor shortage.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It's hard to find and keep skilled plumbers, and that puts more pressure on your workers, which could lead to more accidents or mistakes.
Makes sense. If you're short-staffed and rushing to get jobs done, things are more likely to go wrong. So what about the opportunities? Any good news out there?
Absolutely, the demand for plumbing is only going up.
Okay,
Construction keeps growing, and all that old infrastructure needs repairs and replacements.
makes sense.
Plus, there's a huge opportunity for plumbing businesses that embrace new tech and innovation.
Like what kind of technology are we talking about?
Things like smart home plumbing systems, leak detection, even drones for looking at pipes.
Wow.
These things can make things more efficient and cheaper, but they can also reduce risk by finding problems early.
So it's not just wrenches and pipes anymore.
Right.
Plumbing's going high-tech, which is pretty cool, but with all this new tech and a tight job market, the risks probably increase too, right?
Exactly, and that's why understanding your insurance needs is more important than ever. Let's start with something every plumbing business owner knows.
Okay.
Driving plumbing contractors are always on the move, which means cars are a big deal.
Yeah, you can't avoid driving if you're a plumber. So what are the specific risks when it comes to driving?
Well, first off, accidents, your people are driving around with tools and equipment, often on busy streets, and those accidents can cost you money, vehicle repairs, medical bills, lawsuits.
And it's not just the company vehicles, right? You mentioned this before. What if an employee is using their personal car for work and they have an accident?
That's a great point. A standard commercial auto policy might not cover that.
Really?
You could end up paying for everything yourself, which could be devastating.
Wow, that's a hidden risk that I bet a lot of owners don't even think about. So what's the solution? What kind of insurance do you need to be fully protected?
You need something called non-owned auto coverage. It adds to your commercial auto policy and covers employees using their own cars for work stuff. It's super important for any plumbing company that has employees driving their own vehicles.
Gotcha. So we've covered the risks on the road, but what about when the team's back at the shop or at a customer's place? What are some property risks plumbers need to be aware of?
Well, think about all the tools, equipment, and supplies you need for your business.
Yeah.
Those things can be stolen, vandalized, burned up, or even damaged in natural disasters like floods or storms.
It's scary to think about all of the things that could go wrong, give us a worst case scenario.
Okay, imagine a fire tears through your warehouse, destroying thousands of dollars worth of equipment overnight.
Oh man.
Not only do you have to replace everything, but you also can't work while you're waiting for the new stuff. And that downtime can really hurt you. Lost revenue, missed deadlines, and maybe even damage your relationships with clients.
That's a nightmare scenario. You lose your tools and you can't work, talk about a major setback.
Exactly. And that's why having good property insurance is crucial. It can help you financially so you can replace the stuff, get back to work quickly, and keep the damage to your business as small as possible.
Makes sense. So we've got the risks on the road, the risks to your stuff, but there's this other thing that I think might surprise some folks.
Oh, yeah.
Completed operations liability. What does that mean and why should plumbers care about it?
It's a big deal.
Okay.
It means that even after you finish a job, pack up your tools, and leave, you can still be held responsible if something goes wrong because of your work.
Oh, so the risk doesn't end when the job is done.
Nope.
Give us an example. What kind of problem could lead to a completed operations claim for a plumber?
Sure. Imagine a plumber installs a new water heater,
Okay.
but a few months later it breaks and causes major water damage to the client's house.
Oh, no.
Even though the plumber did the work months ago, they could still be held responsible for the damage.
Wow. So even if you do everything right, something could still go wrong later and you could have to pay.
Exactly, and that's why having completed operations coverage as part of your general liability insurance is so important.
Okay.
It protects you from those unexpected problems that can happen long after you're done with a job.
So it's like an insurance time machine protecting you from mistakes that don't show up for weeks, months, or even years.
Right.
But what about the equipment itself? Plumbing uses a lot of specialized and expensive stuff. What happens when that breaks down?
That's where equipment breakdown coverage comes in. It protects you from the cost of those failures: boilers, water heaters, pumps, even special tools like drowned snakes or pipe threading machines.
Right.
These breakdowns can be expensive not just to fix, but also because you lose work time.
So it's not just about fixing the broken tool, it's also about the lost money, the missed deadlines, and maybe even your reputation if you can't do what you promise clients.
Exactly. That's why equipment breakdown coverage is so valuable. It can help with repairs or replacements, but it can also get you back to work faster by covering things like expedited shipping or renting equipment.
It's like having a backup plan for your tool. So we've covered a lot here, from the dangers on the road to equipment breaking down and even those lingering completed operations issues. But there's one more big risk factor, and it can really hurt any
Yeah.
business interruption.
That's right. Business interruption can be a killer, especially for small to medium businesses like a lot of plumbing companies.
Right.
It's about those unexpected things that make you shut down operations either partly or completely.
Okay, so give us some examples. What could cause a business interruption for a plumber?
Well, a lot of things, natural disasters like fires, floods, or hurricanes, can cause damage and make you close up shop for a while.
Yeah.
But you could also have a big piece of equipment break and you can't work until it's fixed. Or you could even have vandalism where someone damages your stuff or steals your tools and you have to stop working while you deal with it.
It's like a domino effect. One thing causes a chain reaction that stops your whole business. And I imagine the money part of it can be terrible.
Absolutely. You lose money because you can't work. You still have to pay for things like rent, utilities, and salaries, and maybe even the cost of fixing or replacing damaged stuff. And then there's your reputation and relationships with clients if you can't keep your promises.
It's a lot to think about. So what can plumbing companies do to protect themselves from the financial hit of a business interruption?
That's where business interruption insurance comes in.
Okay.
It's designed to help replace lost income and cover those ongoing costs when you have to shut down because of a covered event.
So it's like a safety net for your income. It helps you stay afloat until you can get back to work. That peace of mind must be great for an owner.
It is, and it's important to remember that business interruption coverage is often tied to a specific event like a fire or natural disaster, so you need to make sure you have the right kind of coverage for the things that could happen to your business.
That makes sense. So we've talked about protecting your vehicles, your property, and your income. But what about protecting your stuff while it's being moved around? I'm thinking about all those tools, equipment, and supplies that are constantly going back and forth from the shop to job sites. Is there insurance for that?
There is, it's called inland marine insurance,
Okay.
and it's one of those things that confuses people because the name doesn't tell you what it covers.
Yeah, inland marine sounds like something you need for a boat on a lake, not for a plumbing business. So tell us, what does inland marine insurance actually cover?
Simply putting, it protects your materials, tools, and equipment while they're being moved around while someone else is temporarily taking care of them, or even when they're stored offsite.
Okay, so give us some real-world examples for a plumbing business.
Think about those expensive power tools you're taking to a job site. If the truck gets in an accident and the tools are damaged, or stolen, inland marine coverage could help you replace them. Or imagine you're storing a bunch of copper pipes at a client's house overnight and someone breaks them and steals them again. Inland marine coverage could cover that loss.
So it's like having a mobile security system for your most valuable stuff, protecting them wherever they go and wherever they're stored.
Exactly. And it's really important for plumbing contractors because you often work in risky places, construction sites, busy roads, even clients' houses that might not have good security.
It's all about minimizing those risks and making sure you're protected no matter what. Speaking of risks, let's talk about one that's probably on everyone's mind. Crime plumbing contractors, with all those valuable tools and materials often left at job sites, are targets for theft and vandalism. What are some of the crime risks that plumbing business owners need to be thinking about?
You're right, crime is a big worry for plumbers. The most obvious one is theft of tools and equipment from job sites. Then you've got the problem of people stealing copper piping, which is valuable, and thieves like to target it. And then there's vandalism, which can damage your vehicle's equipment or even the work you've already done.
It's like a constant battle to keep your stuff safe, especially when you're moving around from one place to the next. And it's not just about protecting your physical stuff, right? What about things like client information or financial records?
Great point. Cybercrime is a growing problem for all kinds of businesses, and plumbers aren't any different. You collect client data, you process payments, and you store sensitive information on computers and phones, and that makes you a target for hackers and cybercriminals.
So it's not just about locking up your tools at night. You also need to think about cybersecurity and protecting your digital stuff.
Absolutely, and that's where cyber liability insurance can be really important. It can help cover the costs if your data gets stolen, if you get attacked by hackers, or other cyber stuff happens.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of risks, from driving accidents to property damage, completed operations problems, business interruption, inland marine, and even crime and cyber risks. It's a lot. But it's clear that plumbing contractors face a ton of potential hazards. But there's one more big one we need to talk about, and it's one that's close to my heart: workers' compensation.
You're right. Workers' comp is crucial for any business with employees, and it's especially important in the plumbing industry, which is inherently risky. We're talking about heavy lifting, working high up, using power tools, and often dealing with dangerous materials.
And those risks can lead to real injuries, cuts, burns back problems, falls. Those are all common in plumbing, and those injuries can affect both the employee and the business owner.
Definitely for the employee, it means medical bills, lost wages, and maybe even long-term disability. For the owner, it means dealing with the cost of those injuries, medical expenses, lost work, and potential lawsuits.
So workers' comp is like a safety net for both the worker and the boss. It helps cover the cost of injuries at work and make sure employees get the medical care they need.
Exactly. And remember, workers' comp is required in most states. You have to have it if you have employees.
So it's not just a good idea, it's the law. But besides the legal part of it, what are some of the other benefits of having a good workers' comp program?
Well, first off, it gives you and your employees peace of mind. Everyone knows that if there's an accident, there's a system to help and cover the costs. But a good workers' comp program can also help you attract and keep good employees, reduce injuries through safety training, and create a better work environment.
It's about creating a culture of safety and well-being where everyone feels valued and protected.
Exactly. And that's something all businesses should aim for, no matter what industry they're in. Yeah, it really is a culture of safety is good for everyone. And I know we've talked about a lot of risks, and it can seem overwhelming trying to protect yourself from all of them.
Yeah.
That's what insurance is for. And luckily, there are a lot of options out there specifically for plumbing contractors.
Okay, that's good to hear. So let's break it down. What are some of the key insurance policies that every plumbing business owner should know about?
Well, we've already talked about some of them. Commercial auto insurance is essential for your company vehicles. And don't forget non-owned auto coverage for when employees use their own cars for work.
Right, that's super important these days. What about protecting all those tools and equipment at the yop or out on job sites?
That's where property insurance comes in. It covers stuff like fire, theft, vandalism, and some weather damage.
Okay.
But there are some details here that are really important for plumbers to understand.
Details. Okay, I'm listening.
Think about all the tools that are constantly being moved around.
Yeah.
A standard property policy might not cover them while they're being transported, loaded, and unloaded, or even stored at a job site.
So that's where inland marine coverage comes in.
You got it. It fills that gap and protects your stuff while it's on the move or in risky situations.
Okay.
And it can even cover tools stored somewhere else, like at a customer's place or a storage unit.
So it's like extra protection for all your stuff that's always on the go.
Exactly. What about those completed operations risks? Is there a specific policy for that, or is it covered somewhere else?
Yeah, good question.
You're usually covered for completed operations under your general liability insurance policy.
Okay.
That's the coverage that protects you from problems with work you've already finished, even if it takes months or years for the problem to show up.
That's great peace of mind, especially when you're dealing with stuff that can have long-term effects. So business interruption, we talked about how bad it can be for a plumbing business to have to shut down suddenly. How can insurance help with that?
Business interruption insurance is designed to replace lost income and cover your regular costs if you have to shut down for a bit because of something covered by the policy.
Okay.
This could be a fire, a natural disaster, a major equipment breakdown, or even something like the city shutting down access to your business because of a nearby hazard.
Wow, so it really helps you get through a tough time.
Exactly. It can even cover things like setting up a temporary workspace, renting new equipment, or even moving your whole operation, which can be super important for getting back to business as quickly as possible.
So it's really comprehensive. We've been talking a lot about protecting the business itself, but what about the people, the employees? We talked about workers' comp, but are there other things plumbing businesses should consider for their team?
For sure, if you want to attract and keep good employees these days, you need to offer a good benefits package.
Right.
This means stuff like health insurance and dental and vision coverage, life insurance, disability insurance, and even retirement plans.
It's about more than just paychecks now.
Right.
Those benefits show your employees that you value them and care about their future.
And let's not forget professional development and training. The plumbing industry is always changing with new technology, techniques, and rules. It's smart to invest in your team's skills and knowledge.
Makes sense. It helps them and it helps your business. Okay, so we've talked about a ton of insurance and benefits. Honestly, it's a little overwhelming. What advice would you give a plumbing business owner who's trying to figure out if they have the right coverage?
I get it. It's a lot. The best thing you can do is find an insurance broker who knows the plumbing industry really well.
Okay.
They can help you figure out your risks, explain all the different policies, and put together a plan that works for you and your budget.
So having an expert on your side is really important.
Absolutely. A good broker will not only get you the right coverage, but they'll also be there for you if you ever need to make a claim.
Oh, that's good to know.
They'll work with the insurance company to make sure things go smoothly and that you get what you're supposed to.
That's a big deal. Having the right coverage is one thing, but having someone who can help you through the whole process is something else.
Exactly. And never be afraid to ask questions. The more you understand about your insurance, the better decisions you can make to protect your business.
Right. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to insurance. So we've talked about specific types of insurance and finding a good broker. Any final thoughts about insurance as we wrap up this section?
My main point is that managing risk is an ongoing thing.
Okay.
The plumbing industry is always changing new technologies, new rules. Your insurance needs will change too as your business grows.
So you can't just set it and forget it. You need to check your risks and your coverage regularly.
Exactly. And don't wait for something bad to happen before you think about insurance. Be proactive, get expert advice, and make sure you have the right protection for your business and your team.
Great advice. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll finish up our deep dive with some final thoughts and key takeaways. Stay with us.
We're back and wrapping up our deep dive into risks and insurance for plumbing businesses. We've covered a lot from those everyday dangers on the road to protecting your tools and equipment,
Right?
and even those surprising completed operations risks that can come back to bite you even after you think a job is done.
Yeah, this can be tricky. And of course, we talked about how business interruptions could be a real disaster financially,
Definitely.
and how important the right insurance is to help plumbing companies get back on their feet after something unexpected happens, whether it's a natural disaster or a major equipment failure.
It's all about protecting your business, your stuff, and most importantly, your people.
Absolutely. We talked about how workers' comp is a must-have and how valuable a good benefits package can be to support your team and help them grow professionally.
It all works together when you create that sense of security and stability. It lets you focus on doing what you do best.
Exactly. So as we wrap things up, what are some of the key things our listeners should remember? What are those light bulb moments we want them to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that knowing about the risks is the first step to managing them.
Make sense?
You can't protect yourself from something you don't even know about.
Right.
So take the time to really understand the challenges and risks that are specific to running a plumbing business.
And don't be afraid to ask for help from the experts we talked about, working with an insurance broker who specializes in the plumbing industry.
Exactly.
They could be a huge help, guiding you through all the complicated stuff and making sure you have the right coverage for your needs and budget.
And remember, risk management is an ongoing process. Things in the plumbing industry are always changing. New technologies, new rules. Your insurance needs will change as your business grows.
So you can't just set it and forget it. You got to stay on top of things.
Exactly. And don't wait until something bad happens to start thinking about insurance. Be proactive, get some expert advice, and make sure you've got the right protection for your business and your people.
Great advice. Now, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. With all the changes happening in the plumbing industry, new technologies, changing regulations, climate issues, how can plumbing companies stay ahead of the game and make sure they're successful in the long run?
That's a great question, and every plumbing business owner should be thinking about it. The answers will be different for everyone, but I think it starts with being aware of risks and always learning new things.
Yeah.
Stay curious, stay engaged, and never stop looking for ways to get better at managing risk.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.